You're here for the session called Creating a Frontline First Employee Experience. So let's dive in. Charlotte Buffington is today's moderator. Charlotte's been with Beekeeper for almost 5 years and is the head of customer success for North America. We're also delighted to welcome Brianne Hoffman with MasTec Industrial, based in North Dakota. Brianne currently leads the marketing and communications function there. And our final speaker is Tamara Palmer, who is Flagler Force's internal communications manager. And Tamara leads the business's corporate communication division and is based in Pennsylvania. What I will do first of all, though, is just to get a sense from people of the industry that you're in. Just would be great if you shared within the chat whether you're in A, construction, B, healthcare, C, hospitality, D, logistics, manufacturing, retail, utilities, or other. So go ahead right now and please type your answer, A to H, into the chat bar and we can have a look. There's a lot of Fs. There are a number of retail. There's some people saying they work directly with you, Brianne, which is wonderful. People in food production, people in hospitality. It's varied. Okay, great. I'm sure a lot of the discussion and the learnings that you get today are applicable for you in your industry. We shall move on. I'll pass over to Charlotte to take us through what we're going to discuss today.
Great. Thank you, Chris. And thank you everyone for completing the poll and for joining us today. I'm honored to be moderating this session. So before we get into the good stuff, I'll quickly chat through the session's agenda. So I'll start by naming some trends that are currently affecting frontline businesses today. Then I'll hand over the mic to Brianne, who will share more about her experience rolling out Beekeeper successfully twice, some of the learnings she took from that first rollout into her second and what she brought there to the experience. Next, both Tamara and Brianne will share their business's long-term commitment to creating a great employee experience. And a bit of a spoiler alert, it's a little bit more than just rolling out an app and then moving on, as they'll share. Then before hopping into the Q&A, each guest will share their tactics for driving engagement with frontline workers, specifically using Beekeeper. All right. So before we hear from our amazing speakers, I'm going just to spend a moment or two setting some context. So over the last decade, Beekeeper has uncovered and studied a massive disconnect between frontline businesses and frontline workers across many industries, locations, sites, you name it. We heard earlier in our keynote from some of the Beekeeper execs that this is due to several factors. But one of these major factors is the fact that many businesses stick to the old way of doing things. So many of the methods of communication and many of the tools and systems that we use are built for desk workers and not necessarily for the frontline team members. This means that in many cases, frontline team members might feel unheard, and in some cases, maybe even unappreciated. Because of this, we see that many employees are leaving companies and we see high turnover in many businesses. So that means the same amount or maybe even more work for the same amount of employees or less employees that are staying behind. So this makes running a frontline business incredibly challenging. But luckily, we have two individuals, Tamara and Brianne, from two different businesses that have faced some of these challenges, but they're going to share how they've overcome these challenges by creating strategies that help overcome this disconnect. All right, so with all of that said, it's my honor to hand the virtual mic over to Tamara from Flagler Force. Flagler Force is an industry leader in temporary traffic control. And I've had the personal pleasure of working with Tamara in the Flagler Force team for almost 5 years. Although I think I know a little bit about their business, I know Tamara knows a lot more. So Tamara, I'll hand it over to you to share a bit more about Flagler Force.
Thanks, Charlotte. Thanks, everyone. This is really a great opportunity to be here. And we are also big fans of Charlotte over here at Flagler Force. So the camaraderie is mutual. And a little more about Flagler Force is that, yes, we are a short-term traffic control provider working in in 12 states across the eastern United States. We primarily service utilities clients, water, gas, electric. We set up work zones that are very specific to that particular job's needs. And then we control the traffic for anyone who might be passing through that work zone. whether it's a pedestrian or the motorist, and we're protecting the clients themselves as that work is done for the day. We're definitely rapidly growing, but no matter what, we maintain a laser focus on safety. Most of our workforce is non-desk, and I think we have a retention rate or a turnover rate of about 110 to 150% right now. So between our growth, our high turnover, and the fact that our employees are never dispatched from an office, they're always dispatched from their home, and that the job that they would land at every day and the people they work with every day is bound to change. So that's why the Beekeeper app was a great solution for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tamara. Next up, it's my honor to reintroduce Brianne from MasTec Industrial. So Brianne has had the opportunity to work under the MasTec Clean Energy and Infrastructure Group in both the renewables and the industrial market sectors. So Brianne, I'd love if you could now step up to the stage and explain more about what MasTec does.
Yes, thank you, Charlotte. So yes, I've had the opportunity under MasTec Industrial, currently working under MasTec Industrial, but we are under the Clean Energy and Infrastructure Group under MasTec. And so under that, we're actually comprised of 4 market sectors: the renewables, industrial, infrastructure, and then general building. And so under those areas of the business, I've had the opportunity to roll out Beekeeper under the renewable sector, but most recently under the industrial sector. So we've had the different market sectors that we've been able to roll it under and had different opportunities there. So actually, I was going to say, are you able to see my video? I can't see myself, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, we can see you.
Oh, you can. Okay, good. Yes. So under industrial, just to let you know a little bit about what it is that we do. So we are a general contractor. We're about 2,200 employees. So we are in a lot of different industries across the United States. We have about 20 plus projects that are going on currently. We're really focused here on safety and quality. We are also a very engaged workforce, looking very much at engagement and recognition of our employees. One of the key factors of why we rolled out Beekeeper was really for that purpose, was specifically focused on our workforce and in the field, looking at our frontline workers in the field and being able to reach them with this app. So we take a real high focus on being able to, like I say, focus on that frontline worker and being able to reach them out in the field. We did do that on the renewable side as well. Oh, there, I can see my slide now. So just making sure I was hitting on everything. So yes, with our MasTec Industrial companies, we are comprised of Casey Industrial, Phoenix Industrial, and our Wansec Industrial companies, and then our MasTec Industrial, about 2,200 employees. We do have about 300 office employees, and the rest of those are frontline workers. So that is the majority of our workforce. But again, a full EPC provider and general contractor focusing on power, mining, minerals, hydrogen, manufacturing, and chemical processing. So there's a variety of different industries that we cover across the industrial sector. So majority of our workforce is out there remote on projects, and we really needed a capability to be able to communicate with our employees in that realm.
Thank you for sharing, Brianne. Let's jump into our first question. So the topic of today's session is, of course, creating a frontline first employee experience. So Brianne, first over to you. When working with the renewables market sector for MasTec, we know that you took on the opportunity to connect the business with the frontline workers in the field. So can you walk us through some of your learnings, Brianne, from that first rollout with the renewable areas of the business and how you've now applied those learnings to your second rollout with MasTec Industrial?
So I'll talk first a little bit about how our approach was for our rollout. So again, I'll speak a little bit to, we work with construction frontline workers. When we planned the strategy around what our rollout was going to look like, we had to, both times with both on the renewables and the industrial side of our rollouts, we had to plan for and strategize specifically for projects that were either in remote locations and or construction workers that are going to be hard to reach. We weren't really going to be able to communicate with them ahead of time. We had to strategize. Were we going to do a train the trainer situation? Were we going to go out there and do it ourselves? What was going to be the best method that was going to be the most successful for our business and to keep them the most engaged and really tell our story? And the method that we chose was to actually do job site visits ourselves and do what I actually called our tour de Beekeeper. And we ended up doing that on both the renewable side and on the industrial side, which ended up being a very successful way of doing it, planning it with a lot of incentives along the way, where on the renewable side, it's very remote locations. So when I say renewables, what we mean there is like wind and solar projects. So if you've ever seen a wind and solar project, they're on very remote locations. They're out in the middle of nowhere. There can be connectivity issues. They're very hard sometimes to download the app might be difficult. difficult. So we had to do some communication around that. We had to be a little bit strategic around how we rolled it out and just making sure that people could actually physically download the app. And then we had to make it a little fun for them. We may get some pushback of, well, I don't want to download that onto my phone. You're making me put that on my personal device. And we had to get a little creative about how were we going to sell that to our employees and make sure they understood why we were doing that. And the difference between the two was we had done a pilot on the one side where we had some lessons learned of what worked well, and then we did a full-on launch on that side of things. And then when we came over the industrial side, what was new to the industrial side that didn't exist previously was there's an additional tool that Beekeeper rolled out here in the last year with the text messaging functionality. Now, the text messaging functionality ended up being a really good addition to the rollout for us when we rolled it out round 2, because having learned before with construction and having projects that are out in the middle of nowhere, being able to have people download the app ahead of time really saved us time for one, but also the connectivity issues that we encountered previously. We really were able to avoid that a lot. So we were able to text people ahead of time and say, download the app in preparation for tomorrow, and someone will be on site to help you get logged in. And then we also did the whole in the text message, we'll be doing giveaways, Yeti coolers, Visa gift cards, join us tomorrow for free t-shirts, and be sure to download the app prior to tomorrow's all hands meeting. And we found that a lot of people were prepared ahead of time and did have the app downloaded. And so it made the rollout go very much smoother. We would roll out and have over 100 activations on that site within minutes. It was easy to just scan people in and get them run through. Kind of a lengthy answer there talking about the comparison of the two, but we did have a lot of lessons learned, and that new functionality from Beekeeper was highly successful for us.
I love the idea of the tour de Beekeeper. That's great. Yeah, definitely going to use that. Yeah. And I also hear all the time from our customers this concern about connectivity issues, and employees being able to download the app. So that's so smart to send out that pre-communication to download the app before the rollout. That's really great. Thank you for sharing. All right, Brianne, one more question for you here. So in both of those rollouts, what did you do to ensure that the frontline workers' needs were at the forefront and the priority at all times?
Yeah, absolutely. And it piggybacks off of why we decided to be strategic about physically going to site and having kind of an advocate out there to tell the story. One of the reasons that our company rolled out Beekeeper was because our engagement survey told us every year that communication is always a big common theme that comes out of the engagement survey. And some of the other key focus areas that tend to come out of our engagement survey are opportunities for advancement, recognition and reward. Those are also things that always seem to come out of frontline workforce. There are always areas of improvement that we can continue to work on. And we do an annual engagement survey every year. So one of the things that we always like to focus on and tell our employees is actually take action and say, we are doing something about what you had to say. We are physically here on site telling you this is an action that we took that came out of directly what you had to say last year. So these were actions we took from last year and implemented. And so it's a way for them to get it to download on their phone because you directly told us you wanted more communication, and this is a solution we are putting in place for you. And B, if you're talking about recognition and reward, this is a way we can tag you in the app. You are the frontline worker that we didn't have the ability to do that before. We didn't have a way to recognize you, and now we do. And this is a great way to do it and for you to recognize each other. And then opportunities for advancement is also another thing that also seems to come up as a common theme. And Beekeeper gives us a really great opportunity to not only promote our employee referral program, but also just to refer a job, let people know about new jobs, like new projects we've secured, so they know what's the next job that I might be going to in the different part of the country, and just gives that visibility into the next projects we've secured. And so I think keeping the frontline worker at the forefront of what we're doing in the rollout, really that is the primary part of what Beekeeper is for us. We are rolling it out specifically to bring our companies together. Phoenix Industrial, Casey Industrial, and Wanzik Industrial, they're all three very different companies that do some similar jobs, but it's really to bring our culture together under one umbrella. And this is a way to give visibility into all of those projects together and really collaborate as one organization and one company, so that those workers can all see exactly what they do across the whole organization and really collaborate as one culture building opportunity.
Excellent, Brianne. And thank you for bringing up that idea of the what's in it for me for the end user. That's so important in all rollout conversations, no matter who you're talking to, if it's your frontline team members, supervisors, it's so important for everyone to understand why it will bring them value. So I appreciate you sharing that. All right, great. All right. So of course, when we talk about creating a great frontline experience, it's one thing just to create the experience, but it's a whole other task to actually sustain that fantastic experience over time. Tamara, over to you. Can you tell us a bit about how Flagler Force continues to meet frontline needs time and time again?
I'd love to. We rolled out in July of 2018, and we had a lot of success within the first couple of months and then within the first year. By the end of that year, we hit 80% adoption rate. And now we maintain about a 98% adoption rate. And then within that first year, we had logged 20,000 posts and almost 80,000 comments. Those are really beautiful engagement numbers, but it was also drinking from a fire hose in terms of keeping up with all of that. So we learned a lot in that first year in terms of our capabilities with monitoring and responding and meeting all of our employees' needs. So to really create that great employee experience, we put a lot of process around how we operated, how we strategized on the app moving forward. And we continue to add more process over time. Now, firstly, we created an app monitoring SOP that dictated when we were responding, how frequently, and the escalation procedure. If there were questions that the primary monitors didn't know how to answer, we needed a procedure to escalate those to the correct departments so that the employee got their help that they needed. Secondly, we also needed to scale our capabilities overall. So we actually added a staff member, a full-time role in addition to my own, to help with all of the monitoring of the app. We're very fortunate here at Flagler Force that we have an in-house marketing team who does fantastic work, both internally and externally. And so those team members were a big part of our strategy and process as well, with creative design and a lot of the same procedures that we were using for our external social media monitoring, we applied for our internal platform. And they're always in there helping out. But we definitely needed to have 2 full-time staff members just to manage the day-to-day, let alone the additional strategy and engagement. And because we wanted to really create and maintain that great employee experience over time. Thirdly, what we did, we set up something called a department admin profile. I don't know how many of you have, I'm sure, multiple departments within your company. And so our department admins, they get their own profile. So we have finance, we have operations, we have HR. Those profiles provide, again, direct assistance to our employees. So if there's questions that need to be answered, or there's something specific to HR that HR needs to communicate directly, those profiles are the official voice of that department. They're helping, they're answering questions, and the employee understands that, yes, this is the official voice and I can have confidence in the answer that I've received. And the reason that's important is because we have such an influx of wonderful policing and help from employees on the platform, but sometimes the answers that the employees give to a question may not be completely accurate. So we know that we can rely on either our monitoring team or our department profiles to make sure that information is out there. And those departments also have gotten on board in terms of helping us create content. They give us content ideas. They want to share something, they want to gamify, and they come to us and we collaborate really well around that. So those are some of the things that we've done initially to put process around our great employee experience. We've done a lot to make sure that our app services our employees' needs operationally, definitely in terms of marketing, but we're also moving into a new phase of sort of employee service where we are trying to roll out a form of social services on our app. Think of it as an extension of an employee assistance program. So it becomes a one-stop shop of resources and information that our employees need. Because we have a lot of focus on human connection, our sort of next evolution is to be a place where you can get information. So, for example, yesterday was voting day. And as an example of this sort of human services, we posted all of the polling locations and voter registration information for every single state that we operate in. We put that out there for people so they knew that they could access that information there. And next year, we're rolling out a very robust employee services program, and we're going to use the app. Definitely, of course, obviously, to leverage and communicate and announce about it. But then the app is going to become a hub for more access to those sort of social services needs, because employees will post when they're having issues, and we can go in there and we can talk about our EAP, our employee hardship grant program, and some of our other programs like mentoring. So those are some of the different things that we've done to keep this great employee experience over the years.
Thank you for sharing, Tamara. I'm excited to see that employee services program rolled out. Hopefully we can have more conversation once that launches so I can check it out. Very good. Thank you. All right, Brianne, similar question for you. Could you share some of your initiatives for sustaining and building a better frontline experience again over time?
Yeah, and I think just jumping off of what Tamara said too, that is one of the things that we do is we don't refer to it. Some companies refer to it as like an internal social media. And I almost call that as a bad word in our company because for construction, you don't want to call it an internal social media. And so we call it our communication hub. And the reason that we call it that is because really that's what it is. We try to make it a centralized hub for all of our communication efforts. So it ends up being like the toolbox for all of the communication outlets. So it's the quick link icons to our HR system, to our company store, to all of those things. Where do I go to find this? That's the centralized hub. That's the place you want to send people for everything you need to find. So as far as, what do we do to drive them to engage them there is we really want to put things there that are exclusive for them to go there and find. And so our employee referral program is one of those things. It's exclusive to Beekeeper that we put that there. They have to go there in order to refer somebody for the program. We actually will be rolling out what's called our Belief Backer program that'll be coming up here in 2023. At our organization, we have what are called our beliefs, which are our company values. And right now we have a Belief Backer program that is out on our job sites where people are recognized with Belief Backer stickers for one of the beliefs where they can put the stickers on their hard hat and they're recognized in front of the job sites at morning meetings and things like that. And people are taking pictures of it and putting it on Beekeeper and that type of thing. But we're actually starting a more formal nomination process where it'll be a monthly recognition and then a yearly recognition award. And we'd like that process to go through Beekeeper where people can actually nominate and use Beekeeper for that purpose. So we'll be doing those type of things. The other things that we have found to be, again, very engaging so far already has been the texting capability. Utilizing texting to link to a post on Beekeeper has been really helpful in driving people back to the app. So not only are we are just new to the app. We literally with MasTec Industrial have only been on for about 8 weeks. We're at about 58% activation. So about 1,300 of our employees are on there actively. So what we're trying to do right now is not only keep those activations that we've already got, but continuing to drive engagement of those people who are on there, but we're continuing to get more activations as we go. But for the people that are currently on there, we're trying to keep driving them back there for different reasons. So if there's a hot post on there right now, we're doing open enrollment. So we're texting out, say, don't forget about open enrollment. And we're linking back to the open enrollment post with the text message. So we're trying to push them back. Like all the information you need for open enrollment is on this Beekeeper post and we're linking them back there. If you haven't downloaded Beekeeper yet, here's the link to download it. Then go check out the Beekeeper post. So we're doing some of those things right now to really drive engagement and really using that as that exclusive landing place for it. I think that's really helping. We do some of the polls and those kind of things as like the regular engagement thing. But one of the things I wanted to mention too, that maybe even a question that ends up coming up on here was in the construction industry specific, and it may be even be something that someone's considering on this phone call, is people are wondering who moderates it. Is our restrictions going to be set on this? In construction, we had the discussion before we rolled it out at MasTec Industrial. We had the discussion, should we put restrictions on whether or not everyone should be able to post on the streams, and whether or not should they just be able to like or comment and not actually be able to post. And actually right up until the rollout, literally we were about 3 weeks out from the rollout, and I think Corey Lewis is actually on this call and he can attest to the back and forth we had about the restrictions being set on this prior to our rollout. And I was just a little bit distraught about this because I didn't want to have the restrictions on this for our employees, because I think it pushes down the engagement level so much when you put the restrictions on like that. And so I went back to our executive team, and I think that's really where it starts, is with your leadership at the top and having those discussions and talking through what do you really want the end result for Beekeeper to be. And if you want it to be that really high level engagement and recognition piece for your organization, and if that's really the purpose for the tool, then it needs to be open and non-restrictive. And what I did actually in that case, and what I used to manage the change and talk through that with our leadership team, was utilize our beliefs. And I just said, our integrity belief says that we are trusting our employees to do the right thing. And in this case, we took the restrictions off. We decided to go forward without that and allow our employees to go ahead and post. And it was the best decision that we made. The engagement was high right out of the gate. The employees were very excited to have this tool and to be able to post. And it was highly accepted right out of the gate. People were so excited. And I think our leadership team saw that right away, the high level of engagement. And I'll tell you why is just from some of those levels of the organization. We have had, just in the last 30 days, we have a stream that's for specifically recognition. So you go to the recognition stream just to recognize people. And we've had 80 posts in the recognition stream. 80 times that in the last 30 days that people like a laborer or a truck driver or somebody who never had access to an email or never had a way to communicate with somebody else in the organization was able to either be recognized or recognize someone else in the organization. And that happened 80 times in the last 30 days. And I think that's pretty amazing. And to me, talking about engaging our workforce and frontline workforce, that's a total, we're talking about the frontline experience. That's a total testimonial to what it does for the workforce, because our leadership seeing that too, it's wow. We can see emails go back and forth amongst like directors and, hey, this project's doing awesome and this person's a rock star. But when you see it posted on Beekeeper and 1,500 people that got to see that laborer or truck driver or that tooling person did an awesome job, think of what it does for that person and how they feel about that. And that's the kind of stuff that helps with employee retention. And that's the kind of thing that you want to see when it comes to your frontline workforce.
Brianne, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing 80 posts. That's amazing. Congratulations to you. And it's amazing that people are open and willing to recognize each other like that, and how it starts to happen organically as you've noticed and as you've seen. And thank you for also sharing the importance of opening up engagement and communication channels for employees. This is something that I hear onboarding almost every customer, that concern about opening up the communication, but you're so right. It enhances and improves the engagement with the frontline a ton. Absolutely. So appreciate you sharing that. All right, Chris, I think we're going to do another poll. So I'll hand it over to you. You're muted. Classic.
It always happens when it's live, isn't it? You're always making sure that there's no background noise, and then when you want to unmute yourself, you forget. But so we just move on to the next poll here. So we just wanted to ask people, just after learning from Tamara and from Brianne about how they actually create a frontline first employee experience, tell us about what you're experiencing yourself. What are the most important things companies can do or that you're doing when it comes to creating that frontline first employee experience? A, is it about hiring more frontline employees? Secondly, is it about training managers to be more frontline focused? Third option, investing in employee training and development. Fourth, encouraging employee feedback and input. Second to final, creating a culture of recognition and appreciation, or all of these. So I'm just I'm just having a look here in the chat now. We have B, F, F. Okay, I think that's encouraging. So it's not something that's singular. It looks like a combination of different things. Yes, F is coming through very clearly. So it's a combination. Good. We shall move on. Thank you, everybody, for your answers.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So for our final question here, our final topic. So a mobile app for frontline workers drives a lot of excitement and engagement initially after trainings and rollout events when everyone's getting their sort of first access to the app. But the long-lasting value and usage of the app, it really relies on the level of engagement that we actually see from employees. Brianne, in your opinion, what keeps employees coming back to Beekeeper time and time again, even after that first login?
And I think it's really establishing the value for them. And I think that it's really establishing that first time what they see in there and that organicness of them being able to show them that this is their tool. So we try to, from a corporate communication standpoint, we try to really limit the amount of things that we post from a corporate communication standpoint. And we really let it try to organically feed itself. And really how we tend to do that is in a way, we do manipulate the system a little bit. And what we do there is we have a really close relationship with the project managers, with the site admins, with kind of those key individuals that are out on job sites. Since most of Beekeeper, we do have office individuals. Obviously, we want to keep them engaged in the site in Beekeeper as well. But the majority of our workforce is frontline workers, right? So that is where we spend the majority of our focus time. And so when it comes to the strategy around it, we do spend a lot of time just watching the posts and seeing who is posting, seeing if they are potentially, maybe somebody posted that there was a milestone. And I'll give you for instance, actually today, I saw, for instance, one of our clients posted out on LinkedIn that there was a big milestone that happened on one of our project sites. So what I did was actually drafted a recognition post for one of our executives to post and recognize the project team for Beekeeper, out on Beekeeper, to recognize the full project team and to link to the LinkedIn post as well. So not only does he recognize the whole project team, at the same time, he's linking to the LinkedIn post and tying those two together. So it's really being watchful of some of those things that are happening. But another example might be if somebody just posted a picture and said, hey, we did this big milestone today and it was awesome, but it's maybe somebody that has a smaller or like maybe a mid-level position on the job. I might reach out to the project manager and say, hey, if this is a big milestone, you may want to consider recognizing the whole team, and here's some suggested verbiage. Because it's one of those things where they don't necessarily always think about posting it, but if you help them guide in that process, and then the frontline workers see it as, oh, like they're posting about us. It's our people posting for us. And so we just guide them through that process, and it feels just much more like it's theirs and it's organic and it's coming from their voice, right? So I give them some suggested verbiage, but they spin it and they speak it their own voice. And they do it in their own manner, which makes it feel the beast a little bit. The other thing that I think it does for us, just from a marketing standpoint, is Beekeeper ends up feeding us our social media content. So it always ends up, that's what I love about Beekeeper, is that you get all the stories around your company that then you go, oh, hey, I can use this on social media. And then like, hey, can I use this? Yep. Okay, great. And I pull it out and make a story for social media. So it is a good propeller of a lot of different things that it feeds from a marketing perspective for a company as well. But as far as what keeps them coming back into it, I think they just see the value. They see the transparency of the organization if you continue to feed the right communication into it. And then they just see the collaboration and the recognition. And it's a feel-good thing when you come into it and that people are being recognized and that it's not just a bunch of corporate junk. Like if you put too much of that in there, they're like bored. So you need to have it be kind of stuff that they're interested in, which is usually their own stuff and their own posts. And so that's why we usually tend to leave it alone and fuel them to fuel each other.
Great. Thank you so much, Brianne. And then Tamara, some question for you from Flagger Force's perspective. What keeps employees coming back? And just a quick note, I think we have only a few minutes left. So we might get kicked back to the main room, but over to you.
Thanks, Charlotte. No pressure.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm just kidding. So we recognize our employees for safe work and quality work, much like I'm sure many other Beekeeper clients do. Things like our Safety Driven Spirit Award. We have a monthly mentor award. We have an employee spotlight. Those are just some pretty, I think, key engagement strategies that keep people coming back. We've really dived in a lot deeper in terms of understanding the sentiment of what we're reading on our app. So a couple of examples would be, we've noticed that our field leaders were very highly engaged on the app. They were what we would consider a power user. And anyone who was a power user would take it upon themselves and lead the forefront. They would champion their own version, content campaign almost. We had one gentleman who went to North Carolina and basically did his own employee brand journalism of our rollout there. And he's just one example of how he used the app to basically keep the company updated on the goings from his perspective. But to date, we've identified those people on the app, and 107 of those people have been promoted into leadership positions, 52% of which we have retained at this organization. So that's a huge cost savings. If we're retaining 52% of our field leaders, and if you're to look at a really rough estimate cost of keeping them at $3,000 each, that's a savings of just under $200,000 a year for having saved those. And that's just one great example of how we're driving engagement on the long term. I see we're going to be leaving out of the break room.
Thank you so much, Tamara. So we didn't have time to get to questions. Don't worry about that. Tamara and Brianne, thank you so much for joining us and speaking to your strategies for driving engagement. We really appreciate it. And thank you all for joining the session.